Welcome to this edition of Custom on a Budget. So this time what we're going to be trying to do is breathe a little bit of life into this old van, and today we're going to be working on the trunk. As you can see, it's full of junk right now, so we're going to go ahead and get that cleaned out. And later on I'll show you what we've been trying to do with this, but the front is converted into a passenger compartment, and in this back area we're going to add benches and really make this thing into a fun adventure van. Okay, the junk is gone. Now we need to start creating a bench to go on that side. And then for those of you who don't know, get an idea of what I'm trying to do, I put a partition wall in and the front end of this van, pretty much right up to right in front of this wheel well. That is all passenger compartment, and then the area back here is at the bottom, close to 6 feet of trunk in the back of this, where we often store our bikes when we're towing a camp trailer. Alright, we've cut a piece of plywood that's going to fit right up to this wheel well here, to the shape of it. Eventually we'll fill it across with a piece of sheet metal. In the meantime, we've nailed down a 3/4 inch by 1.5 inch piece of pressure treat and screwed it down with some self-drilling screws. Next, we're going to go ahead and put in the plywood. Like I said, we're going to span this with sheet metal and carpet it so it'll all look like one piece when we're done. Here we're putting in 1 5/8 inch screws, and those are going to secure to that piece of pressure treat on the bottom. We're doing it about every 12 inches, but if you're doing a similar project, whatever feels right to you, go ahead and do it. I'm going to put a bracket on this back jamb so that we can attach the plywood to it. A little L bracket. Okay, I'm going to put a second screw in it just to make sure it holds. Okay, now I'm going to put a screw or two in from the back to make sure it stays attached, and this will eventually be nice and sturdy for a bench. That is all if I can remember how to operate a screwdriver. There we go. Alright, we're going to go ahead and attach this front part in. So we're going to screw to the board first. Once we've got that attached, we should be able to use some form of a straight edge or a straight eye to see how this is going in. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to line it up to here, actually to this wheel well, and so it needs to come out a little bit. The board I'm using is kind of junk, so it's got a little bit of a bow to it, but we'll straighten that out with some more structure. So right now I'm going to pull it out to about where I want it, and where it's going to be about straight, and then we will screw it in. And then I'm going to put a couple more screws in here, and then we'll start working on supports in the top. Alright, so now what we've gotten is we've cut a 45-degree on this 2x2 piece here, and we screwed it into the top flange, which is on above the actual fuel intake. We screwed it into this structural member. We ran it past there a little bit and legged down so it has lots of support, and went across so it's measured evenly. So now what we're doing is we're putting on this piece of plywood, and this is actually going to be a little rail for the backside of the hinges to attach to. And then we'll cut a couple of opening hatches, lift here, and then there'll be a piece of plywood over here that just covers the top of this wheel well and makes it look all squared off. So it'll be a nice, it'll just look consistent all the way through. You'll never know this wheel well was here, to be honest. But hopefully if everything turns out right, you'll see us in a minute with it complete. Alright, we're screwing this thing down. Go ahead and put a screw in here, please. Okay, so we hit the other screw. That was not very smart. Let's go and take this one out because we've hit this other screw. We're going to move it about 1 inch to the side. Everybody makes mistakes. I didn't see that coming. My son is helping me work on this project today. He's a little bit new with the drill gun, so he got it in reverse, but he's working it out now. I really appreciate his help. Good job. Alright, next step. Alright, does everything make sense now? So we put in this little strip here to screw the back side of the hinges into, and then we left enough board sticking out for this to be sit on. When it's in the fully closed position, it actually bears on this board, and then it comes out here and bears on this board. And then of course underneath these, we're going to take another chunk of 2x2 and put it full length in between where these boards hit. But we're screwing in our hinges. Then we're going to get on to panel number 2 that's actually going to hinge open. Alright, so now I've got the next actual hinged portion put in. That's ready to go. You can see it goes down over the wheel well. Looks like it might need a little bit of routering to keep going smoothly, but overall it works pretty good. 2 opening compartments. I left a little 3-inch gap over there. We're going to put a solid fixed piece in there to kind of keep it away from the wall a little bit. And then I will be able to bring paneling down to it without having any kind of interference. This part over here is ready to go. You can see kind of the roundness that needs to be filled in, but I'd like to cover this entire surface with carpeting. And so we're going to put sheet metal cut to fit on here, and then actually glue the carpeting to it and see how it'll kind of bridge those gaps, but not add any thickness. And so in the end, this should look pretty good. I'm also going to, in between these guys, like I said, throw a 2x2 in here just to give it a little added support in the middles, and then cap these edges with aluminum angle iron. And so that should give it a really nice finished look. Stick with me. We'll try to get that in the rest of the video. Here's where we're at. I went ahead and got a shim in underneath here to kind of pick this thing up so it made a nice level line when you're actually going down, doing sight lining down here. It really looks good now. And so what I did is I just got this unistrut from Home Depot. This stuff is horribly expensive. Here, if you want to label, 1.5 inch by 36 inch Everbuilt. About the least expensive stuff I could find. I decided to use that to fill in the gap instead of just the sheet metal. And again, if you want to label for the sheet metal that I bought, 6 inch by 24 inch. Looks like that says 22 gauge. And so that's the actual stuff that we're using to fill in this little gap back here. So I've cut this at the right angle, and it's all ready to go in there. And so I'm going to get it screwed in, and then I will show you what it looks like finished, and then we can get some carpet on here. Coming up next. Alright, outdoor glue for outdoor carpeting. Here it is. Alright, so the glue's on. I'm not claiming to be expert at this. I know it probably doesn't look great to those of you who are professionals out there, but it's tacking up really nice. We're getting this thing applied. A little bit of gray carpeting, which is going to match the rest of the van, and it should look finished in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and roll it over these edges and tack it down, because I don't care if there's staples showing here. And so that's the plan. Alright, so I went ahead and pressed the glue onto the fabric. Tried trimming it underneath here. I still got a little bit of work to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this edge folded and stapled. Coming up next. Alright, so here we've got everything pressed in. I just still have got it cut here. I've got it tucked in and folded around the backside now. And so that's just going to staple in on there. And this one here is wanting to hold up a little bit. It's not wanting to come down all the way. And that's kind of hard to see until you get the camera right up there. But I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the hinges, fully wrap these things after I cut a bit of a bevel on the back of this one to make sure that it shuts down nicely. I think it's just kind of binding against this bottom wood here a little bit, and so if I cut a relief on there, sorry, that's not very good. If I cut a relief on there, it'll allow it to fall back down. So I'm going to take it off, relief cut it, wrap it, put it back on. This is the back of the... Yep, there it is. I'm going to fold all these edges over and show you kind of what's up. Alright, so I'm going to fold it over the top. See if you can see that. I'm going to tuck some under. I'm actually going to fold it underneath there and staple it. Fold it to where it's a pretty similar line. So it looks pretty dang good. Stretch it, fold it underneath, staple it. Continue that process all the way around. Alright, so I've watched a couple upholstery videos in the past. I do the best I can. Should get a sharper knife for sure. This thing is super dull. But here's the general idea. I cut out a lot of this slack right here where it's folded over. And I usually pull it in kind of at a 45-degree angle, staple it as close to the edge as I can. Cut off the excess here so you don't get too much bunching in there. And then, hopefully you can see that. This part that would be sticking out, you can just cut it in a straight line with what you had before. And so now that should go up, fold underneath, and staple in, looking pretty good. I'm not a professional upholsterer, but this looks pretty good. Now we're back out in the van with the very same panel. Now it's all screwed in. We've put fabric or carpeting, on the bottom and folded everything around and folded it under, stapled it on. So that's all ready to go. I've got the second one ready to go as well. I've beveled these a little bit of an angle on these back parts where the hinges hit, so everything will settle down nicely. Next, we're going to go ahead and carpet this. I'm going to take off and carpet and wrap around this back rail, and then we're going to carpet that little end point. And so we're going to invite you to watch along. Along the back here right now, and so this is going to look a little rough right here, but when the wall panels come down, it's just going to, cover that flapping edge here a little bit. But anyhow, so I'm going to stretch it out, and then we're going to come down here, and it's good to kind of fold this stuff underneath and then you can staple up from the bottom with your stapler. I'm running a pneumatic stapler right now, but you can use anything that you have. So this is not always the easiest part, but it is worth doing right. So there we go. I got just enough excess right there, right down here. See it? And I got it folded under, and you're on my hose. Get off my hose, please. Thank you. To where you can staple it up there. And then we'll just kind of keep doing that with the rest of it. You kind of staple it up, stretch it out, tuck it down, staple right next to your finger until it really looks nice. Okay, now we're stretching this thing out, and I'm just going to tuck it right down into here, and then we'll cut off the excess. Stretch, tuck, staple, stretch, tuck, staple. Alright, so this is a little strip that fits into here, and so we're going to wrap it, and we'll go ahead and do a couple of exposed screws similar to these that we screwed the back of the hinges in with, so they'll be exposed, but it'll still look good, I think. Alright, so something in my lost footage I didn't get to show you was kind of how to do some of these corners. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this little guy and just fold it in to where this part's about a 45 degree, and I'm sure that you upholsterers out there will probably correct me, but I've seen a couple of videos. We staple that, and then we want to fold this around, but first it's nice to cut some of this excess out of the way. So I will cut it out of the way and then show you what it looks like. Alright, so you see how we did that? We kind of cut diagonally some of this slack off after we stapled it off, and you can still see the diagonal there, but then we cut it off almost square so that when we fold it up, we can tuck this in just a little bit, but not have too much excess, and then staple it, and it'll look really good from the top. So when you look at the top, doesn't it look pretty good? And this part's going to be buried and screwed down, so you'll never see it. Alright, so we've pretty well wrapped it up. Again, nothing totally professional results here, but I think this is a whole lot nicer than it was before. So we're going to call it a wrap. I'll tune some stuff up. I will also mount our fuse box inside there. Maybe do some miscellaneous work. That'll be another video. But for now, thanks for watching. And really keep following along with us, because custom on a budget, this is going to be this sort of thing. Doing things inexpensively, but having fun, making things much better than they used to be. Have a great day.